Hello, my loves. Happy summer solstice to you. I am coming to you today to muse about the topic of being human. We're going to talk about why we're talking about this. I'm going to show you some decks just so you have a fun visual, decks that I feel like connect to this theme, and I'll definitely kind of touch on and explain why as I show each one and I'm talking. I do want to say you're going to hear background noise. We're having a heat wave. The AC is on. My apologies in advance, but my dog will die if I turn it off. So we're just rolling with part of being human, right? To coming right off with it. I think especially if you create videos, you understand this. You're always so apologetic about background noise and the dog barking and other people moving about in the house and the AC being on, etc., or the heater, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, y'all, we're all just trying to make it out here. And these are just facts of life, right? So we're rolling with the humanness. I have my coffee. It's before 7 a.m., so fingers crossed this is going to come out well. But this is a part of a quarterly challenge that I do with two other beautiful creative minds. Shay from Sleepless Page, I believe, and Anna from Front Anna. They're both beautiful, creative, journaling, artsy people. And this is our second installment of this. And we really just wanted to create some type of quarterly challenge where we brought you a prompt that not only really makes you think and like dig into yourself and get to know yourself better, but also allows a wide variety of creative interpretation as to how you could then express these concepts in a creative way, whether you decide to share that or not, or just keep it to yourself, right? Just to bring us all a little deeper along our path and have some fun and exercise those creative muscles. So if you'd like to join us, I'm going to leave their links and all the information down below. But our prompt for this summer is being human. Hence, hence my topic for this video. And I really, as always, want to take things to a spiritual type of lens. And I am going to talk a little bit before I show anything. So if you're just more interested in the decks, feel free to skip ahead. But, there's this very real experience that we all have of the complexity of what it means to be human. And growing up for myself in my personal experience with a organized religion, that was brought up in my household. We were very entrenched in the Christian religion. We were homeschooled. Like, that was a big part of my life. And, in those religions, you're really taught that to be human is to be a sinner, right? Is to fall from grace and to not see yourself as whole, as complete, as part of the beautiful divinity that orchestrates this entire experience of what it's like to walk on earth. And through that, right, we're told that we're taught how to be functional humans by taking out our spirituality and making us these monsters, which leads us to my first deck, which is the Horror Tarot, right? I always say right. I don't know why. Apologies. I don't even always use it in the right context. But the first deck that I chose, like I said, is the Horror Tarot. And as I was saying, we're really taught that we're separate from spirituality and that we need to throw away our desires, to ignore those parts of us that are needy and wild and expressive and fiery, and just want to run outside naked and howl at the moon and be a little bit off the beaten path. And, you know, we really label ourselves in this society as like, you're either good or you're bad. And if you engage in any type of these really raw human emotions, they're seen as negative, right? But if we actually look at the idea of being human, nothing is more human than pleasure, than pain, than rage, than intense joy. We are given a whole spectrum of beautiful things to experience. And to be human is to be a spiritual being in a physical body, and to get to experience the entire spectrum of what it is like to be human. And I'm really stepping into this place, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but to this place of like, if I'm here for a finite amount of time, right? I always say that death is the great equalizer, because it is, right? It sounds morbid, but like the one thing that happens to literally anyone of any walk of life, no matter how much or how little you have or who you know or where you come from, right? We all have a finite amount of time, and none of us know when that time clock is going to run out. And I'm just sick and tired of living with this idea that to be a spiritual being means to not be human, to have to transcend these human urges or to make yourself better in some way, when really the idea and what I'm coming to the understanding of is to actually embrace those parts of you that make you feel like a monster sometimes, where this intensity just flows through you and desires to be expressed and to be felt and to be lived. You know, I've been doing a lot of reflection lately and just really thinking about who I am and how I want to show up in the world, and doing a lot of shadow work around the ways that I have really betrayed myself and morphed myself into something that I thought I should be, that has resulted, you know, in me getting detached from these more raw, intense, beautiful parts of life. Like really extracting some pleasure out of it and just delighting in the body and what it means to enjoy sexuality and enjoy pleasure and not take life so friggin' seriously. So, which brings me to my next deck, and I'm gonna just be upfront with you. There's a lot of raw female nakedness in this deck. I think it's done very tastefully. I don't have an issue with this. In fact, I think we need more of this. But if this offends you, this might be the time that you decide to exit the video. This is the Witch's Tarot by Burning Paper Hearts, and I will leave links below to things for you. But I love this deck because it deals with this raw female power. It has extra cards in it. So this isn't just a tarot deck. It has some other extra cards, and a lot of them are like, this is Hecate. There are moon phases. There's the Maiden Mother Crone phase. It's very like witchy flavored, hence the Witch's Tarot. But I really love this deck because I feel like this really embraces the idea of, as a human, being the bridge between the earth and the sky realms. So when we can kind of get out of this, you know, horror tarot era where we see ourselves as monsters and rather embrace ourselves as this beautiful human blend of earth and sky, right? Of earth and star, which is essentially what we are. We can come to appreciate more just how we ourselves are an act of creation, the way that we dress, the way we express ourselves, the way we experience things in life, and the full spectrum of all of that, and how we really can, like I said, take like a life a little less seriously and enjoy things more and be wild and free and not be afraid to do some things that may seem a little odd and a little weird. I also love how, obviously there's a lot of nudity in this deck in that kind of raw female power way, but there's something about nudity that also touches on our vulnerability. And there's something about being vulnerable that can be really scary, right? But being vulnerable allows us to have the deepest connection that we can possibly have with ourselves, with the universe, the divine, and with others, both, partners and friends. And I'm not saying you need to go like, be naked in front of everyone, but like, the abstract concept of being naked, right? Of just laying it all out there and being like, you know what? This is who I am, and I just really want to trust the intimacy that we have as friends, as lovers, as family members, whoever, and just really allow myself to be fully seen and witnessed in this raw power that I have in whatever intensity I'm experiencing right now, in a safe way. Of course, I'm not saying we should ever be expressing intense emotion that's directed towards someone in a way that would be harmful, or towards ourselves even in a way that could be harmful. But I think as a society we really get away from this idea of like being so activated, and like, can we just for a moment sit in the intensity of what we feel, and maybe not even just like outwardly express it again in a negative way, but to really just allow it to be there and to not make it wrong, to ugly cry in the shower, to scream at the top of your lungs and stomp your feet on the earth with rage, like whatever you need to do to just honor the moment. And then from that honoring of the moment is where we are able to then pull back and say, okay, WTF was that about, right? And how can I move forward in a healthy way? How can I use this intensity, this beautiful power that I have, and really channel it towards something that is going to make a positive impact? So that was the Witch's Tarot. Where do I want to go to next? I don't have a beautiful segue for these decks, so we're just going to keep going and talk as we go. So this is the Oracle of the Mermaids, and we're talking about intense emotions, and this deck is so human emotion, like so human emotion. Like the Oracle of the Mermaids by Lucy Cavendish. I have an old copy, so mine's glossy and I've trimmed it. Just so you're aware. Sip of coffee really quick. One thing I love about this deck is its ability to encompass that serious scope of human emotion and really call ourselves out in the tenderness of those moments. We see things like this card here, falling in love, kissing the divine in another and in yourself. First of all, can we just talk about how beautifully unique that is compared to like love yourself, self-care, blah, 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 like all the usual frankly overused and kind of gag worthy at this point phrases, right? Which are beautiful concepts that we absolutely should be working with. But this just has a beautiful way of like bringing those concepts in a way where you really have something that leaves a taste in your mouth that makes you want another bite. You're like, hold on, let's think about that for a moment. Ooh, that's interesting. There's something there. And this breathing deep, entering into life, exchange of life-bringing energies. You could just feel the intensity between the two of them, right? And I think there's a tendency sometimes to look at cards like this and be like, oh, like romance, whatever. But like they're really like, she is a mermaid and him is a human. She is literally breathing life into him and sharing her life force in a way that allows him to further explore this piece a little. And there's a whole thing that we could go into that where that might be a troublesome area, right? But it is an interesting concept to think about. And again, this deck just really talks about a bunch of different facets of life, like what it feels like to be restricted, what it feels like to have to wait for things, what it means to embrace your divine sexuality, to allow that wave of power to surge through you, to claim your authenticity, to be connected to all facets of life, right? We have the grandmother here, we have the masculine, sacred ocean medicine, what lurks in the shadows, right? How many of us are like, I don't want to go there. Like, shadows, like, no thank you. We'll just stay over here in the light and airy and play and like pretend that like shit ain't going down. But shit's going down all the time, inside and outside of ourselves. And part of being human is just learning how to embrace this duality of life, the up and down, the fucking roller coaster, the wheel of change that we're all on. This, again, like these intense spectrums and everything in between. So I really love the Oracle of the Mermaid's ability to capture this water essence, the psychic connection that we all have, and the depth of human emotion and what it means to really like play with all of those things. Which brings us to this next deck. This is the White Numen Tarot. And I love this in contrast to the other two that I shared because, you know, the Witch's Tarot I feel is very like really this idea of art and the body and the heart and the mind all coming together and really playing in that grittiness. And then you have the Oracle of the Mermaids, which is a little more gentle, right? It deals with more of those kind of watery but soft and airy concepts in the way of really weaving the seen and the unseen together in this kind of etheric space. And then this deck really grounds us into the earth, but still very much honors the complexity of what it is to be human, to be connected to the elements, to the earth, but also to the sky and some larger concepts. So this is the White Numen Tarot. I don't know if I said that. But there's something so beautiful about the way that the elements in this deck are presented, the way that the people in it are depicted as being so connected to nature, to the spirit animals, and really deals with this idea of the light and dark coming together. There's two extra cards in this deck. One is the Black Numen and one is the White Numen. And if I'm remembering correctly, the Numen is just kind of like the spirit or the essence of the light and dark and what it looks like when we play with these two concepts. And that itself is built into the tarot, right? I love the tarot because it doesn't shy away from the hard parts of life. It really encompasses the entire spectrum of what it means to go through the ups and downs and to live life as human and to embrace different types of like personality archetypes through the court cards and go through a larger like soul journey that sometimes we can't even quite put our finger on with the major arcana, right? And then the minor arcana deals with those like day-to-day life shit of like being stuck in your head with the 8 of Swords and the 9 of Swords. And then those joyous moments with like the 10 of Cups. And I really love this deck too for the concept of bringing the sky, the stars down to the earth, because when we think about us as humans, right, we think about creation. We are the magicians. And often we talk about manifestation as like pulling something that we want towards us. But really what manifestation is our way of interacting and co-creating with the divine forces that be and other people and everything that's, you know, living and breathing on the earth, and using our direct will, using our action, using that emperor and empress energy to really utilize those tools that we have as the magician to create what it is that we desire, or to even explore what it is that we desire to begin with. And I love this High Priestess. It's one of my favorite cards in this whole deck because it really encompasses this whole idea of like, she's human, she's raw, she's sexy, she's in her power, right? But she's also connected to the sky. She's in all of this water. She's receiving that psychic information. She understands the larger cosmic workings of things, and she's able to bring that down into the grounded space to literally create her heaven on earth, which is, I think, everyone's ultimate creative goal. We want to create our own version of a living heaven on earth. And when we keep ourselves separate from ourselves, when we play into this narrative that we are horrific monsters who must repent, that is when we put ourselves in our own living hell, because we betray ourselves. We don't show up authentically. We see ourselves negatively. We don't love ourselves. We think there's something wrong with us and we try to fix it. And all the while we're trying to chase after this elusive, you know, idea of what it means to be a proper human, when all we really had to do was remember who we were in the first place, because we come into this life with the understanding of what it means to be human. And I think along the way sorry, I'm trying to focus this. Along the way we lose what that is through just the nature of society, right? And I'm not like trying to demonize society. That's also part of the human path, is just learning and unlearning what is true or untrue for us based on our own experience. Which brings me to the last deck. This is the Haunted Manor Oracle by Syrian Shadow. And inside the cover here, it says, "Allow the ghosts of the past to rest in peace." And I'm going to just say right up front, I'm pretty positive that this deck is out of print for the moment. I'm really hoping it's going to get picked up mass market, because this deck needs to be everywhere. But sip of coffee, just to off the bat, let you know. I love this deck because, I mean, so many reasons, but one of the reasons is it really deals with the very human side of what it means to play with shadow, but it doesn't just talk about the dark. It brings the light into it. It presents the shadow to you in a way that really allows you to not feel so triggered or attacked in a sense, but to really get curious and be like, okay, I got something to think about. And there's something about this deck that encompasses all of these decks that I've talked about, right? There's this element of the haunted manor, right? We have that touch of the horror going on. There's a little bit of that like ooh, taboo, mysterious kind of vibe going from the Witch's Tarot. We do have some more cards like this one. I love this one, Winter, Frozen in Time. When I think about that, there's something, maybe it's because I'm a Scorpio, but I think there's something so romantic sometimes about thinking about those deep feeling emotions. And this just gives me this sense of like being super isolated in this like big, lonely, cold castle. And I get those like Dark Shadows movie vibes with like Johnny Depp. And he's just like, there's something so painful about being in the face of wind so alone and being in such a soul searching place and trying to figure out why there's this hole that you just want so badly to fill, but like what is it that you actually want? And sometimes you can feel frozen in that moment of like, will I ever get out of this? And this feels like that Oracle of Mermaids energy to me, that really just like digging into those like more yearning, more just really heartstring pulling moments. And then we have the earthiness. We have here the moon, trust the process. And this wolf here, we have the apple, take a bite. That's kind of a nod to this whole concept of what we're talking about. There's all kinds of like earthy and human aspects with all of the plants and the bones and the ruins and oh, the swamp. I love this card. It's naturey, and yet it speaks to the human experience without having to have a single human in it, which I really appreciate. But that's a rant for a different time. We have lineage, honoring what it means to come from other people. Conservatory, here we go. Embrace your vulnerability, right? I feel like this deck just brings home everything that I've been talking about. Facing yourself in the mirror, facing your fears, taking your power back, trusting that the sun will rise again, grounding yourself in the earth. This is another one of my favorite cards, the Roots cards. Just Graveyard, lay your fears to rest. We're all gonna be here one day, right? Altar, keep the faith. Labyrinths, choose a clear direction. Trophy room, try your best. Try your best. We're all just trying to fucking make it out here, guys. We're all human at the end of the day, and you know, we've all done things we aren't proud of. We all have intense emotions. We're all just trying to figure out who the hell we are and how we're going to get there and what we want to do in each moment and what it means to even be living a life in the first place, and whether or not where we thought we wanted to go is still where we want to go, and how to let go of where we've been and move forward. And there's just, being human is the most crazy, wild, weird experience. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit or freedom to really just be in it and to not have to make it something that it's not, but to just be like, look, I'm just riding the fucking wave of what it means to be a soul in a body. And there's nothing more spiritual than being human and learning to enjoy the creation of life and tell your own story. You know, I've been thinking a lot about all of these concepts lately, and I'm currently hosting a summer experience. It's called Moments of Me, and we officially kick off with our first lesson tomorrow. And this is the whole idea of it, which is just to honor who you are, to explore who you are in each moment, not to try so hard to manifest something or fix something or XYZ, but to just be in the moment, to check in with yourself like, hey, who the fuck am I right now? How do I feel right now? What do I need right now? Where do I want to go right now? What messages are coming to me? What beautiful synchronicities are weaving their way into my story? And what story do I even want to tell? And there's this beautiful aspect of story where stories aren't told beginning to end. They're told end to beginning. What I mean by that is it's really hard to see the forest through the trees. It's really hard to see what your story is until you can view it in hindsight. It's through reflection and looking back and thinking about how we lived and what certain experiences meant to us. That we uncover the legacy of our lives. The legacy of our lives is how we chose to be human. And we don't choose that from beginning to end. We don't say, I'm going to be this and I'm going to do XYZ and that's going to result in this. We really just stay in the present moment and we make choices based on where we're at, how far we've come, and what we know about where we want to go in the future. And those little decisions, those little moments over time culminate in our legacy, which we can then tell in reverse through reflection. All right, my loves, I'm getting a little off topic here. I'm going to save that for another day. I have plenty of that to talk about with my moments of me ladies, but thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you enjoyed taking a look at these decks. I hope that you enjoyed this abstract philosophical musings of a crazy witch on what it means to be human. I'd love to hear anything that you feel like adding or sharing or expanding on in the comments below. And if you would like to join us for our quarterly creative challenge, it's called #EverythingIsArt. I'll leave everything down in the description box below, but being human is this season's prompt, and I'm just so excited to see what you come up with and what you create, because the amount of directions and opportunities for expression that you could take this in is just, I can't even fathom. So if you do share, please tag me or send it to me or whatever, because I can't wait to see. I can't wait to learn more about your experience of being human. All right, my loves. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.